Hey everyone, I'm back again, and it's Aisha Hogan and International Academy of Universal Self Mastery, lovingly known as iawesome.com. And so excited to have you here watching this today, and also excited to have my guest, which is another one of our founding faculty, Laura Armstrong. So, Laura, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I'm very excited about today.
Laura is one of these amazing people. Like we always have a lot. Like some of us have a lot of wonderful magic and gifts. In our basket of goodies. So why don't I let you tell the viewers, Laura, exactly all the wonderful things that you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I really feel like life is an experience. And the more we experience the different aspects of it, the richer we can be in what we can not only offer people, but be as human beings, right?
Right.
So as a very young age, I was, in my teens, I was always very active. Um, I love to do sports. I love to be out there. I love learning. And I was very involved in like gym class. And I was an overweight kid, which was kind of a dichotomy because I loved doing all these activities and I was not in the best shape. Right. And, all those circumstances and all that baggage that we accumulate through our life is stuff that we bring along with us. Right. So, I ended up competing in bodybuilding and powerlifting at a very young age, like when I was 18, 19. I'm in my mid 50s now. And, I had the coaches approach me and say, look, we've been prospecting you for international competition. Are you interested? I'm like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, well, if you want to continue on, then you have to take the drugs, right? Like, it's just the way that level at an international,
Wow.
yeah, you have to take the steroids to look how you need to do to win the awards that we think you can win. And I was 18, 19 years old. I'm like, sorry, and a lot of that stuff is not reversible on women.
Right.
Right. So I declined that and I still wanted to be physically involved. And I'll tell you where I'm going with the story in a minute. So I took one of those continuing education courses in the evening, and it was for Aikido, which is the Japanese art of self-defense, which I ended up doing and running my own school as I got a fourth din in it for like over 30 years. And so I go to this class, and so the teacher is just this little woman. She's like 4 feet tall. She's great. And I don't know how she put up with me for 30 years, honestly. I must have been like the problem child of Aikido. So we get into the class and she's, we're doing, our stances, our roles, all this stuff, right? And, I always liked martial arts because I thought I love the ass kicking, right? Like,
Right.
so at the end, she's like, does anyone have any questions? I'm like, yeah, I've got a question. And she's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, well, when do we get to like the kicking and punching and the ass kicking part, right? And I could just see the look on her face is like, oh my God, not another one, right? And she just kind of smiled at me. She's like, well, Laura, it's all about peace and love and harmony. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. But you know what? I showed up the next class and there was something for me there that kept me going for the
Right.
next 30 years, right? And then I got involved in other martial arts as well on more competitive level and have 3 world titles, in that. And I have a legacy of students who have titles and their students have titles. So having said all of that, what I did is I took all of that learning and all of the leadership and what made me a world champion with me through my life. I worked in corporate for 21 years, so I understand that mindset. And once I left corporate, I just decided that I was only going to do things that, brought me joy,
Right.
helped other people, and made me more money than I could spend. And I think the people leave the money thing out because there's a lot of shame around that in certain
Nope, be able to make
circles.
more money than you can spend. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I really work with people on the money thing. So it comes up a lot actually. So what I decided then is how am I going to do this? So, I had been a holistic practitioner for 20 years. I was still teaching classes and then COVID hit. All of a sudden I can't teach classes. I can't see clients. And so what am I going to do here? So I got together with a brand strategist and she's like, Laura, you're more well-known than I am. You need to be teaching leadership. But you know what I mean, everybody? It's like when you do something every day, you don't think of it as something special.
Yes.
You
That's
just
so
kind
cool.
of go about your business, right? And so then I really started thinking about this, and we started creating these courses that were impacting people on a huge level to not only step into their leadership and their power, but be able to break through what was holding them back, right? And it was a really interesting journey, and I started to see all these changes. And so I started offering more courses at different levels, and things like that. And I thought, how much bigger can I be here? How many more people can I touch? How much bigger can I be in the world to create my message? And we should all be creating our mission and our vision. And my mission was good, but my vision, like, that's bigger, right? So what is that? And I finally came up with, for myself, leaving an ideal in the world that will continue to change people's lives, whether I'm on this earth or not. And that really kind of resonated for me. And so that's kind of just a little bit like the Coles Notes. Everyone over 45 will know what that means. That's the Coles Notes version of who
Right.
I am and what I do. Yeah.
Okay. So what then led you to want to be a part of iAwesome?
Well, I was referred by one of your board members. We were just having a conversation. It came up in the conversation, and I'm like, as a holistic practitioner, I was offering leadership and communication training, but I always kept that connection to holistic through that, because I think it should be running through everything. And, Chris thought it would be a really good fit. So when I started talking to you and talking about what you offered, I'm like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm thinking about, right? It was the vibe that I wanted to put out there. It was the people that I wanted to connect with, and the students that I wanted to help, in the way that I wanted to help them, so that it
Right.
would be very synergistic for them, and they could step into it, but yet still be stepping into their power. Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. So as a leader, what are some of the things, what would you say like are the top 3 struggles that most people have? I think a lot of times people think that they're the only ones that are struggling with certain things.
Yeah, sure. That's an easy one. Fear. Um, Stepping into success is big for people. Being successful. And I would say self-esteem is the third one. I find those are the most common. Fear of success is huge. Fear can be a big subject, right? So I would say fear of success. Okay, because you get on that track and everything's starting to go along great, and then you sabotage yourself, and you're like, I don't know, all this stuff is coming in, change is happening. I don't know if I can handle that. And then what you've been doing all along is you've got this cycle of starting to succeed and then sabotage, right? And so where does that come from? And we take a look at that, right? So that is something that's very, very common. And then I would say fear of the unknown, or what's going to happen next, holds a lot of people back, because they don't want to step into things unless they have a plan. And
Right.
that's just not always possible for us to have available to us. So you have to put parameters and boundaries around what you do, so that not only can you feel safe stepping into the unknown, but you have thought about pretty much every possibility that could happen.
Right.
And some people don't need that, right? Like me, I'll jump off the cliff to see if there's water, but my husband is horrified by that idea, right? So he's just the opposite of me. He's like, that's not happening. So, it just depends on who you are as a person and the values that are important to you. And then I would say one of the main third things that I notice with people is their communication. Especially now, because we have to be so much better communicators, because we can't see people in person,
Right.
so being able to listen actively and be able to watch people's bodies and backgrounds of where they live and how their face moves. We have to really step into the cues of communication
Yeah.
to make it effective for the time that we have with them over a virtual setting. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Cool.
it's interesting because and people are, I think right now, like it's getting in front of this setting. It's doing this, right?
Right.
It's really nerve-wracking for a lot of people too, because now it's like, how do I look? Am I okay? like now they can see themselves. They can see what they look like to everybody. A lot of self-judgment is coming in there and stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah,
I'm telling
yeah.
you, here, have some hats.
Yeah,
Bad
yeah,
hair day, you just want to put on a hat.
yeah.
So there's all kinds of stuff. So the other thing I was gonna ask you is, so you're a relative, you just joined iAwesome.
Right.
So what courses are you thinking of bringing into iAwesome for the students?
For sure. Yeah. So I have all sorts of ideas, and I actually just came up with another one last night, which I think is kind of crazy, but it's going to be great. So I wanted to offer something free for everybody so that they can get their feet wet and kind of get them an idea of like what I'm about, and maybe it's a good fit for them or not. I don't have judgment about that. I don't have a point of view. I think what's good for you is good for you, and I will help you the most that I can if that works with you. So I wanted to offer, like, I call it the 3-day leadership challenge, and it's 1 hour a day for 3 days in a row. And basically what I do is you can have huge dynamic change in those 3 hours, I'm telling you. So I will take you through the first day, and I will start you to get you to look at what you would look like, what your business and your leadership and your life would look like if you were the world champion of your business. If you could identify your gold medal self, what would that look like? So I kind of give you the tools and the building blocks to start to formulate that. Because I think in our life, we're like, yeah, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be way up here. That looks good. It might someday, coulda, woulda, shoulda, might happen, right?
Right.
But we haven't really defined or niched like what that could be. Okay.
Yeah.
And the second day, we talk about recognizing your roadblocks. Okay. And where they may come from. Why are you choosing them? What do they look like? And we get into the meat of that. I use 4 different subjects there. And I really don't need people to have answers to questions. I just need to get them to start answering questions, to start creating space around the blocks. That's what we want to do. And then the third day is really fun because we bring it all together. We look at where you are now. We know where you want to be up here, and we know what the things are that are getting in the way. And we take a look at the bigger picture. And so that's basically what we do for the 3-day challenge. And the other workshops that I have are a part of a program that I offer that allow people to step into their leadership. And there's 6 of them. It's a series. And in that, we talk about, again, if you could be the world champion in your business, what would it look like? Where are you now? Okay. What are your blocks? What is your mindset? That's a really good one that we do.
Right.
Championship toolbox. So I give you a ton of tools. And the last one is turning it all to gold, how to monetize your business and how to monetize your leadership, which I think that we don't talk enough about. We talk about getting there, but not how to actually make the money. And I give you all sorts of ways that you can start to expand your thinking about those things and move forward with it. And that's just one of the series that I'm going to offer for now, because I'm new and I'm just trying to. And then one I came up with yesterday, you're going to love this. I'm going to teach a workshop on the difference between and how to do your mission and your vision. Right? Because I think those are important things. If you're really serious about your business, that has to show up at some point. Right? So that's something new I came up with yesterday that I'm just kind of still fiddling around with. So
that's great. And there's one thing that, I've mentioned a couple of times on here, and let's talk about this for a second, is I think a lot of people, first of all, they don't live the life that they choose. They live the life that has been chosen for them, or that is expected of them. And secondly, they might be successful at it, but they are unhappy, and I think that people automatically equate success with fulfillment, and I don't feel like they necessarily go together. But if you feel fulfilled, I think that brings you success.
It's funny. I think really people have to think about their life equation. My life equation is joy plus service equals money, right? For me. So if I don't have 1 and 2, I definitely don't have 3. It's not happening. But what happens with that is it stops becoming an equation and it starts becoming this huge circle. So joy, service, money, joy, service, money. And it all just starts to feed into each other, and in a way that is synergistic, because the more money I make, the more people I can help. And people lose sight of that. They think if you make a ton of money, like, you're being greedy. It has nothing to do with that. It
Right.
just gives you the ability to be more in service to others, and that's going to bring you more joy. Like, it all works together. Yeah.
There's a great book that I just read. I have to put it. It happens to be sitting right on my desk, so I'm going to grab it here. And this is I've had this book for, I'm going to say I've had it for like a year and a half. It's one of those books that I thought, oh, I'm just going to really, really read that. And then I didn't. And then over the holidays, I did pick it up. And have you ever seen this one?
Yes.
It is amazing. I love
Yes.
this book. I love this book, number one, because she talks like me.
Yeah.
You know,
she is a badass. Yeah.
She is a badass in how she speaks. And when I was reading it, I was like, did I write this? So she talks like her the way she speaks,
right.
You know, she's very much like me. And she's very direct, very down to earth, and just really lays it out there in a way that you're like, how did I not know this?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, where was I? Yeah.
How did I miss that whole thing? Right. And I've got the book, is like, I think every page I'm like a highlighting queen. Like, I've just got this whole thing highlighted. So it's a great book. I thought this was a great book anyway, and it's by Jen Sincero. So for those of you that don't know, you are a badass. You are a badass at making money, right? And don't feel bad about making money.
No, and I'm thinking of, creating something around that too, because more people need to hear that.
Yes.
Which is really good. And
don't
it's funny.
A half-ass at being a badass. That's
right.
Don't be a half-ass at being a badass. Like, just go hog it in. Go in all.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really interesting. I just yesterday became an international best-selling author. On the One Habit book. I was a contributor to that book of living in a COVID world. And so I wrote a chapter in there, and it basically in 2 days went to the top of the charts. And I just really feel like the more we can read books like that give us like fuel, and they give us knowledge, and they give us not necessarily our path, but they can contribute along the way. Like, we need to be doing that. We need to be coming to classes in iAwesome, and and learning as much as we can, because the learning process is endless, right?
Yes.
The only thing I say about it is start to apply it in your life. Don't just keep learning.
Well, what I decided to do was to do something and to make people's journey really easy in iAwesome, because the one thing I've learned is when they come in, it's so different. It's so different than anything they've experienced before, that they do understand social networking. They do understand like learning. They don't understand. They're having, it's doing them together at the same time. Right. So that's why we're so different. So I decided that every other Saturday, starts this Saturday, and every other Tuesday, starting next Tuesday, I will be teaching a 2-hour Master Your Mission.
Awesome.
Right. So it's a free event that you don't even have to be a student in iAwesome.
Right.
Right. So you come to iAwesome, go into the events, get in there, register for it, because you need clarity. First of all, in some area of your life. It doesn't have to be about money. It could be a relationship. It could be business. It could be just how you feel about yourself. It could be like anything, any part of your life that you want to fix. Right. So we're going to get some clarity around that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move in, and we're going to move into some motivation. And it's interesting because most people don't know why they want to do something.
Right.
And if you don't know your why, and I know you guys have heard this, like, I know my why. No, you don't. I know I didn't know my why, right? So you think you know your why. You have a very superficial, happy, joy vision of what your why is.
But you got to dig that.
Surprised at what your why really is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It'll be nothing that you actually expected it to be. Right? So it's really going deep and finding out what your why is. And then we're going to go for a tour inside iAwesome. But then I'm going to be offering a once a month free 4-hour continuation.
Nice.
So really, it's about helping people find their superpowers. It's about really digging in deep on what they found out in the 2-hour session, talking a little bit around that, and so that we can start guiding them to the right teachers.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So we can start guiding them out to the right people that are going to be able to help them. So they're not just coming in going, I don't know where to go, because there's so much to do. So not that they're going, I don't know where to start. we are going to give you a place to start. And, the first place to start is, I think, is the event, is just to come in, and that's going to be happening every week. And it's just really a way for them to get to know, what does Laura do? Right? Because the faculty are also maybe taking part in this, not so much maybe to learn, because I think the tools that I'm going to be giving are tools that I actually learned. Believe it or not, I learned these through Tony Robbins, right? So they're really proven tools. And the reason that we're going to use them is because, or the faculty are going to be there, is number one, these are tools you can use forever and forever and forever. Right. And it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what level you think you're at. It doesn't matter what area of your life you're going to use them in. You can use them over and over and over again. And once you attain that goal, you can use it again to level up, right? So you can just keep using them. And, you're welcome to join in as well, Laura. I mean, you know so much about leadership, but you can add to the group, right? So it's a really going to be a fun sort of a masterclass that's happening every week. So it's just something that I think people need. They just need guidance. They need direction. They need to know, I don't know what to do. And is it okay for me to want what I want?
Yeah. Like, you're all perfect where you are, right? Like, you're enough. But if you want more, then what are you waiting for? Right? So right. This is a great opportunity. And what you're offering is a great opportunity, not just for the students, but the faculty as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And I think that the part is too, is that people just don't, if you're not living a life that when you wake up in the morning, even if you're still like, listen, putting I Awesome together was not peaches and cream, but but I loved it. Like, I love it. So when I get up, I don't think of it like
work. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh my God, what am I digging into today? Like, what am I going to be dealing with today? Right? So you got to feel like that.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I would just tell people, find your passion. And if you're not sure what that is, write down a list of the things you love to do. And if you can't even do that, then start asking people what they think is what they think about you that are some of the best qualities that you have, right? Because getting other people's points of view, and make sure they're people you value their opinion, right? Because sometimes they're going to see things about you that you don't see about yourself. Like that lady I talked about my branding, right? I had no idea, but she saw it. So it's kind of a cool experience to live your passion every day.
Yep. And to see yourself through new eyes.
Absolutely.
Like, see yourself through new eyes. I think that we've been conditioned. I did a really interesting exercise for myself this year, and it was trying to, Joe Dispenza, how he always talks about, we're 99.9% energy, and the rest of it is, we're living this experience in this vehicle. And I'm all over that. Right. So I started thinking, well, what if I started looking at my life from the other side of the mirror? Like, watching myself.
Right.
Living my life.
I think about that all the time.
Right. And it's like, if I start watching myself living my life, I'm going to be, associated, but disassociated. Like, to be able to say, wait a minute, I should not be doing that.
Right.
I should be doing this. Right. Instead. Or, watching how I'm reacting in a situation and being like, why are you being such a puss about this? Like, you can totally deal with this differently. And why are you letting people, where's your boundaries?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Totally. So
it's been an interesting exercise to sort of watch myself living my life, which sounds weird, but fun.
Yeah. Whatever you can learn from that, right? Like, do it.
Yep. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm so excited that you are part of I Awesome. And I felt an instant connection to you, like the very first time that we spoke. Like, I love all of that.
Me too.
Some of them you're just like, oh, I love her. Yeah. Like, right away. So I'm so excited, and I can't wait till, we can visit people, because I'm totally coming to visit you. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
And so, so it's been really great. Thank you so much, Laura. And thank you everyone again for watching, and check us out on iawesome.com. That's IAUSM.com, because you are awesome. And have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.